So, our girl is just cruising on her slick white glider. Her name's Nausicaä, and she is an absolute pro pilot. She dives straight into the toxic jungle, the sea of corruption. After landing her ride, she heads into the freaky-looking forest, armed. This place is full of giant shrooms, weird bugs, and glowing spores. She kneels down, poking the ground like she's checking for loot drops. Mask on, she starts collecting samples of the toxic air. Then she sees something weird up on a mushroom and is totally startled. She finds evidence of a giant bug, an Ohmu, which is super rare here. He's gorging himself, she figures, tracking it deeper into the forest. Peeking through the bushes, her eyes go wide. I thought so. She finds it, the massive, freshly shed shell of an Ohmu. How beautiful, she whispers, completely in awe of the epic loot. Climbing on top, she realizes it's still fresh and taps it. Inside another dead Ohmu shell, she finds a piece. It's so light, she says. She tries to flex on the shell with her knife. Sparks fly. The thing has such insane DEF stats, it hurts her hand. It literally chipped her ceramic blade. The armorers are gonna lose their minds. This shell is S-tier crafting material, ready to use as is. And the giant eye shield? A perfect gunship canopy. Score! She decides to salvage one, but has to be smart about it. She pulls out some signal flares and starts making a little pile. Time for some crafting. She makes a makeshift explosive charge. Taking cover, she fires her rifle, and boom! Her plan works. She grabs a piece of the lens. Mission accomplished. Inside the huge shell, she's still amazed by a piece she's holding. She taps the salvaged lens, covered in some kind of bread fungus. Spores poof out everywhere as the fungus tries to heal the damage. She sits on the shell as spores fall like snow. To him, this gloomy forest must seem a warm and comforting place. But for humans, it's a forest of death that wrecks your lungs. The fungus keeps releasing more spores, spreading the toxic debuff. Lying there, she suddenly notices everything has gone quiet. They've stopped. Suddenly, a psychic scream hits her mind. "He killed us!" She sits up, totally freaked out. "Who?" The voice is in her head, spamming the same message over and over. A vision hits her of her younger self getting blasted by this mental attack. She tries to reason with whatever is screaming at her. Reaching out to a bright light, she tries to connect with the source. But a final psychic blast just yeets her out of the vision. Back in reality, she hears a high-pitched sound. It's gone. It's a siren shell. Someone is in deep trouble with the local mobs. The forest insects must be attacking someone, she realizes, grabbing her axe. Scene cuts to Nausicaä, needing a better view of the fight. She climbs up a crumbling fungal cliff to get a vantage point. Her climbing spot is the fossilized skull of a massive dead insect. From there, she spots the action. There! It's a whole swarm of giant dragonfly things called royal yanmas. She pulls out her binoculars and notices something is wrong with the spores. Then she sees it. A gigantic, enraged Ohmu on a rampage. An Ohmu's attacking someone. The situation is officially bonkers. That dude is never getting out alive going that way. She loads a signal flare, hoping the guy recognizes the signal. "Hear me!" she yells, firing it into the sky. The flare streaks over the forest canopy, a clear signal for help. "He heard! He's coming!" she says, jumping back down. She grabs her glider and the eye lens she salvaged. In one smooth move, she hops on, straps in, and takes off. In the distance, a massive explosion erupts from the forest. She banks her glider away from the smoke, racing to the rescue. Flying over the wasteland, she spots two figures on bird mounts. It's Yupa. She swoops down and yells, "Go upwind!" The whole forest explodes behind them, sending shrapnel flying everywhere. The enraged Ohmu crashes out of the trees, a tidal wave of destruction. Nausicaä gets hit by the shockwave, but holds on tight. She soars into the sky, away from a pursuing insect swarm. Looking down at the Ohmu, she's just in awe. What a magnificent Ohmu! This has to be the one whose shell she found. It's leveled up so fast. Blind with rage, it just keeps chasing them, which is a total noob move. She decides she has to calm it down. After another explosion in the distance, she flies right in front of it. "Go back to the forest," she pleads, trying to de-aggro the world boss. The Ohmu's eyes are glowing, reflecting the light ominously. She realizes its eyes are burning red with anger. Enraged mode is on. On the ground, a dude named Yupa watches her fly towards the beast. She tilts her glider down, dropping 3 small spheres. They bounce on the ground, erupting in a series of bright flashes. Flashbang out! The blinding light startles Yupa and his mounts. The Ohmu's head is engulfed in the disorienting strobe flashes. "Strobe grenades!" Yupa yells, recognizing her crowd control tactic. A thick cloud of smoke and dust rises from the ground. As the smoke clears, the insects have landed on the now still Ohmu. It's totally stunned. "He's gone stone still," Yupa observes. He then sees her pull out a worm-flute, another CC item. Aboard her glider, Nausicaä plays the calming melody. She circles above, telling the insects their enemy is gone. The entire swarm responds, taking off into the air. She leads them back to the forest like the ultimate beast tamer. Yupa is stunned. It's almost as if she can read their minds. The calmed Ohmu turns back, and Nausicaä waves goodbye. She apologizes for the flashbangs and promises to make good use of its shell. She then soars off into the distance, a total legend. Scene shifts to a windy desert where the swordsman Yupa is waiting. He's standing on a dune as Nausicaä expertly lands her glider. "Master Yupa!" she yells, running to give him a huge hug. He catches her, laughing. They're clearly old friends. He's super impressed with her wind rider skills. She's humble about it, but then a furry head pops out of Yupa's belt. He'd forgotten about the little troublemaker he rescued. "It's a squirrel fox!" she exclaims. Turns out Yupa aggroed the Ohmu by shooting at the bug that was carrying this little guy. The creature was knocked out, so it didn't inhale the toxic spores. Nausicaä gently offers her finger to the hissing animal. "You shouldn't do that," Yupa warns, but she ignores him. The squirrel fox seems to calm down as it climbs onto her shoulder, and then it chomps down on her finger hard. What a power move! The little guy stops biting and starts licking the wound instead. Cradling it, she soothes the terrified creature. Taming complete. "Can I keep him?" she asks. Yupa is just speechless. She then runs over to greet his bird mounts, Kui and Kai. Yupa is floored by her mysterious power over animals. Later, Nausicaä is tending to her mount while they talk. They discuss a mobilization order. "So it's war," she says somberly. A shadow falls over her face. "Father isn't going," she declares. "I am." Yupa is shocked. "Nausicaä to war?" She explains it was her and her father's decision. The reason? The forest poisons have invaded his body. He has a permanent debuff. "It is our destiny." she says, accepting her fate. They drop some lore about the world being consumed by the toxic jungle. She tells Yupa to head to the castle while she flies ahead. He watches her go, amazed at how much she's grown. That night, the Valley of the Wind Castle is lit up for a celebration. A huge crowd has gathered to welcome Yupa. Everyone is so hyped. Yupa hands out some rare herbs as gifts to the castle's wise women. They are beyond grateful for the precious supplies. Yupa then calls for the young women to receive gifts. Nausicaä relays the message from her sick father's bedside. He gives them beautiful stones from the Sea of Corruption for their wedding days. The girls are thrilled. They're so beautiful. Nausicaä watches the happy scene with her little squirrel fox on her shoulder. Her father, King Gilles, announces a great feast to celebrate. Tonight we feast and celebrate to our heart's content. The party kicks off. The hall is filled with music, food, and laughter. It's a full-on party. Yupa smiles, but he's also worried. Yet, even here, he thinks. The king shares his concern, noting there are fewer people each time he returns. Later, in the king's room, Nausicaä tends to her father. Yupa asks about something she wanted to show him, but she says it can wait. Everyone would be angry if I kept you to myself tonight, she explains. Even her father is eager to hear Yupa's stories. Out in the hall, the villagers are surrounding her, asking about the Ohmu. The king watches proudly, but wishes she'd been a boy, a sad reminder of the old ways. He laments that of his 11 children, only Nausicaä survived to adulthood. So, everyone's in the hangar, grinding on this gunship build. And there's our girl Nausicaä, looking super focused on this weird bug shell component. This old dude, Mito, praises her for looting the toxic forest. The other old-timers are just laughing their heads off. Total grandpa energy. Our girl immediately wants to take the new toy for a spin. Of course she does. Mito's worried about her little squirrel fox buddy, but she's like, he can handle anything. Then they all scatter as Mito yells for them to fire the engines. The gunship just yeets itself into the air, kicking up a massive dust cloud. Cut to Nausicaä on her personal glider, thinking about some giant bug teeth marks. Totally normal. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the sick king hears the engine. This other dude, Yupa, is just flexing about how Nausicaä can basically read the wind's soul. But then the mood drops. Yupa's not happy about sending her off to war. The king is like, look, we're a tiny nation. It's our main quest. It's some real the sparrow must live like a hawk BS. Now we're back on the gunship, and she's going full throttle, just blasting through the air. Mito is in the back, just screaming the insane stats at her. They're flying so low, they're kicking up dust. This is bonkers. Mito is losing his mind, yelling about the altitude. But our girl is completely unbothered. Tito just chilling on her shoulder. She just pushes the engine even harder. What a flex. They literally just obliterate some ancient ruins by flying past them. Max engine power, baby! After that stunt, they're cruising at a safe altitude. Mito starts lecturing her about how she's gonna get them killed. He's basically yelling, you can't just Leroy Jenkins into a fight. And she just turns around with this little smirk. You're leaving a cloud behind. Savage. Mito just laughs it off. He can't stay mad at her. He gets serious about how old and rare the ship is. But Nausicaä is just thinking how she prefers her glider. The gunship cuts the wind, but her glider rides it. Suddenly, she gets hit with this insane psychic message from some angry voice. It's all rage and vengeance. Super chill stuff. In her mind, she's on her glider, feeling the presence get closer. A creepy hand reaches out of the light. Our girl just holds out her hand, forming a little energy ball, like, come. She's trying to calm this thing down, asking who it is. She's literally feeling all its pain and sadness. Empath level over 9,000. The psychic feedback makes Tito freak out. Mito is yelling, totally clueless about the mind heist that just happened. Oh, and she was nosediving the whole time. Whoops. She pulls up just in time and thanks Tito for the save. Best support companion ever. Mito is still having a heart attack as she narrowly avoids crashing. She just hits the vertical thrusters and blasts back into the sky. Then she yells, "Put on your mask, we're going to the Sea of Corruption." Mito is like, the rotwood? But she just orders, combat speed. He follows orders, but thinks she's lost her wits. She's pretty sure the voice was a giant insect, an Ohmu. And if she's right, someone is getting wrecked by giant bugs right now. So she dives into the toxic jungle. She can feel this terrible dread in her heart. Whatever it is, she knows it's very close now. Some rando pilot is just grinning creepily in his cockpit. Red flag? Probably. Then we see Nausicaä flying through the toxic air. She's looking super determined. Then her eyes go wide. She sees it. Some other ship is flying way ahead. It's a massive freighter, and it's getting absolutely swarmed by giant bugs. Mito yells that the insects are attacking a freighter from a neighboring kingdom. The ship is literally falling apart. There's a big explosion, but it barely does anything. Nausicaä realizes these clowns must have landed in the toxic forest. Rookie mistake. But their engines still work, so she decides to play escort quest. Mito, run up the signal flags. So Mito just climbs out onto the wing of the speeding ship. This dude has plot armor. The flag basically says, "Follow, we will guide you." They signal for the freighter to turn. Inside, the crew is just screaming in terror. It's a total horror show, with bugs crawling everywhere. Mito sees it's full of women and children, but their rudders are jammed. So our girl comes up with a bonkers plan. Use the cannon flash to scare the bugs off. Mito is like, "Princess, no." She ignores him and goes in, snapping the signal kite line. You can see the rudders are just caked in bugs. She tells Mito to get ready to fire. He just tells her to break away the instant she fires. She locks in. Here we go! The air is just a solid wall of angry flying insects. She plunges right into the swarm. A giant bug smashes against their canopy. Her entire view is just bug guts and rage. Mito is screaming that they're going to stall, but she pushes forward. A massive claw smacks the cockpit right next to her head. But they made it right next to the rudders. She gives the order, "All guns fire." The cannons light up the sky. It works. The bugs get blasted off the rudder. "Engine full throttle," she yells. They pull up so hard the G-force just yeets the remaining bugs off their ship. They're finally clear of the main swarm. Mito reports that they're all clear. Mission accomplished, right? The freighter is finally turning. They're out of the forest and almost clear of the poison air. Then Nausicaä spots it. "Uncle Mito, their wing!" The freighter's wing just disintegrates. Catastrophic failure. The whole thing just nosedives and explodes. Well, crap. Mito realizes the bugs chewed right through the wing. "I'm putting down," Nausicaä says. Before Mito can say anything, she's out of the cockpit, demanding the emergency mask. She runs through the burning wreckage alone. The scene is absolutely horrific. "This is horrible," she whispers. It's just bodies tangled up with dead bugs. She realizes it was a refugee ship full of women and children from Pejitei city. She spots someone. "Mito!" She pulls a girl from the wreckage. This girl's still breathing. They get a mask on her as the girl gasps for water. The girl recognizes their ship. She's a princess. Mito asks for any parting words. A bit blunt, dude. She holds out a small stone. Her name is Rastel, Princess of Pejitei. Flashback time. Armored dudes torched her city. They were the only survivors. Mito is confused since Pejitei was an ally. Rastel says the emperor must never get the stone. Nausicaä gives her word she'll deliver it to Rastel's brother. The princess begs her to promise, and then she's gone. Mito says they need to leave before the toxic plants take over the crash site. But then Nausicaä hears something. They both look up, totally shocked. It's a freaking Ohmu, a massive, multi-eyed insect she saw yesterday. Mito wants to run, but Nausicaä notices its eyes are blue, not hostile. A sad voice fills her mind. All dead. Our girl realizes the giant, terrifying bug is crying. Then it just turns and leaves. Just then, a massive, dark airship appears. It's a heavily armed Toromechian Torvet. Oh, great, these clowns. Inside is a squad of armored soldiers ready to drop. They confirm it's the ship that got away. The commander, this Kushana lady, orders them to land the worm handlers. The corvette lands, and out come these creepy dudes in heavy coats. One of them starts poking a giant slug thing. So that's a worm handler. They guide their slugworms through the new fungi. Kushana and her lieutenant watch from the ship. The lieutenant is disgusted by the worm handlers. What a snob. He keeps complaining, but Kushana says they're useful. She's determined to find whatever they're looking for. The slugworms squirm through the fungus, and one of them finds something. The handler reports that the item they're looking for is gone. It was taken. He holds up the princess's crown. The lieutenant recognizes it. He points out signs that another small ship landed nearby. Kushana puts 2 and 2 together. All prepare for immediate takeoff. Their new destination, to the Valley of the Wind. A lone glider speeds through a canyon. The gunship approaches the valley, and all the villagers come out to wave. Mito meets her at the hangar, freaking out about the battle damage. She tells him there's been an incident and to bring the fire wands. Then she just casually leaps out while they burn the toxic spores off her. Mito is yelling about how dangerous the spores are. Thanks, Dad. She orders Mito to reload the guns and keep the ship ready. She knows what's coming. She sprints up the stairs, telling the Wind Watcher to tighten the guard. She literally runs into someone in a hallway. She bursts into her father's room. Yupa is already there, talking about Pejitei. Her dad immediately tells her to chill out. He lectures her about how a leader can't panic. He says the valley's destiny is on her shoulders now. Yupa thinks he's laying too much on her, but the king just keeps lecturing. She finally tells him, "The city of Pejitei has been destroyed." She explains the refugee ship crashed after being attacked by insects. The king is horrified. She shows them the weird little stone. They have no idea what it is, but it's clearly ancient. Yupa figures it came from the mines under Pejitei. He knows it must hold some insane power if it caused all this. Nausicaä declares she's going to fulfill her promise and deliver the stone. Just then, the lookouts spot a ship. A massive corvette flies low over the castle, dropping something. Nausicaä recognizes it immediately. It's a Toromechian armored corvette. Down below, everyone starts panicking. They know this is bad news. The massive ship descends right into the middle of the village, kicking up a dust storm. Well, they're here. So, our girl Nausicaä is getting a main quest from her sick dad, King Gilles. He's basically like, "This is your first trial, kid." She gives a firm, "Yes, father," and is totally ready to go. She bolts out of there, ready to face whatever's coming. At the lookout, her men are freaking out. Some dudes are landing without permission. Nausicaä is stoping them out, totally pissed. Damn them. An elder says the invaders think they're too small to fight back. And get this, it's a massive, multi-winged airship descending on them. The ship just crash lands in a field. What a bunch of clowns. She is so not happy. Intolerable. That's a newly seeded field. She sees armored goons disembarking and spots teeth marks from a giant Ohmu. One of the invaders is marching forward with a rifle and some weird drum thing. And then it hits her. She knows who these guys are. Worm handlers. This is bad. Very bad. Her people are losing their minds. "This is an act of war," they shout. But our girl stays cool. She steps up like a boss. "Quiet, everyone. I'll deal with this." She immediately starts giving orders like a pro. "Get my meve. Roll out the gunship." Her boy, Uncle Mito, is ready to rock. "Leave it to me. I'll blow their ship to flinders." Nausicaä hops on her glider, the Mave, looking focused AF. "Hold on, Tato." She soars over the valley, the gunship right behind her. The gunship takes off with a powerful downdraft, ready for a fight. Mito is laughing his head off, super proud. "That's our princess for you. Wings to the ground." She then does an insane maneuver, landing her glider right on the enemy ship's wing. Down on the ground, two groups of soldiers are marching in formation. Total bad guy vibes. One of the masked goons turns his head, hearing something. And it's our girl, flying straight at them on her glider. She's leaning forward, rifle aimed, ready to cause some trouble. She fires a shot, just casually showing off. Bam! She shatters some dude's instrument, sending him flying. She buzzes the soldiers, who scatter like total cowards. She circles above, while the soldiers regroup into a defensive circle. One of the grunts tries to shoot her down, yelling, "I'll get that damned sparrow." But his commander is like, "Wait, hold your fire." Because guess what? The valley gunship shows up, cannons ready. Suddenly, Nausicaä hears a psychic cry in her head. "He killed us!" She flies under her own gunship, totally surprised. "Who?" As she cuts a cable, the voice screams again. It's not human. The voice is full of rage. "We will kill him!" She leaps off the gunship, sword drawn. She lands hard among the worm handlers, who are completely shocked. "Who are you?" Then she plants her sword in the ground and announces herself like a total legend. "I am Nausicaä, daughter of Gilles of the Valley of the Wind." She points at the soldiers. "I forbid you to advance one step beyond this sword. Withdraw immediately." What a flex! The enemy commander steps up, claiming they're chasing traitors on the Emperor's orders. He demands to search the valley. But Nausicaä isn't having any of it. "I will not. We are an autonomous nation." She schools them on the rules of conduct, pointing right at them. Suddenly, her eyes go wide. She's realized something. The enemy commander spots an object one of the worm handlers is holding. Nausicaä clutches her head in pure rage. Those monsters, they've desecrated that child's grave. They will not be getting the stone she's carrying. A worm handler is poking some slug-like creatures with a stick. Royal Yanmas! Our girl is now wearing her helmet and is absolutely livid. The slugworms start crawling all over the ground around her. An enemy commander tells her not to move while she realizes an Ohmu is attacking someone. The commander just chuckles, saying the worms have found what they're looking for. The slugs start crawling up her boot. Gross. But she stands firm, crossing her arms over her sword. "Hear me!" she shouts. Her face is pure determination as a bright light flashes. The worm handlers are totally stunned. "He heard! He's coming!" Nausicaä declares. She unleashes some kind of power, sending all the slugs flying away. Her pet Tato leaps to safety. The slugs burrow into the ground to escape. The worm handlers can't believe it. "Our lovely slug worms," one of them cries. What a loser. Nausicaä walks forward, sword in hand, as the enemy commanders mutter about her magic. She turns to them, her face full of righteous anger. "Dogs of Tauromachia, you fouled my body with your despicable maggots!" Her eyes are burning. "I shall not forgive," she vows. This is gonna be good. A huge Tauromachian soldier in full-plate armor draws a massive axe. "Then I will take you on, little girl." It's a boss fight. Nausicaä readies her sword and yells to her allies, "Go upwind!" From the gunship, Mito freaks out. It's a duel. She fell for their challenge. An enemy soldier spots the gunship and orders his men to fire on it. Nausicaä charges forward, totally focused on the duel. But wait, a new challenger appears. It's Yupa Miralda, riding a giant bird thing with an army of villagers. "Wait, duelists, hold your swords!" The enemy commander recognizes him instantly. "That man, it's Master Yupa, the finest swordsman around." Yupa rides past our girl, telling her not to turn the valley into a battlefield. Mito watches from above, looking grim. Nausicaä pulls out a flute, trying to calm some unseen creature's attack reflexes. Yupa is worried she's lost herself to anger. But screw the flute, she just sprints forward. She leaps at the armored soldier, sword extended, thinking about the enraged Ohmu. The soldier swings his massive axe down to meet her charge. Clang! Steel meets steel, and sparks fly everywhere. She blocks the huge blow with her thin sword. How is she so OP? Using the momentum, she pushes off his shoulder. She does a full backflip over the stunned dude, pulling out a dagger mid-air. Literally insane. It starts raining as the soldier stumbles, blood spraying from his neck. She got him. The villagers go absolutely wild. "Yah!" The Tauromachian commander watches, impressed, as Yupa yells, "Strobe grenades!" The soldier groans in pain, and Nausicaä lands perfectly behind him. Yupa sees his chance and tells her to go for it. Now. But then Yupa jumps between them, catching the soldier's axe and blocking her dagger with his gauntlet. What a troll! Nausicaä is completely shocked. Yupa holds them apart. "Don't move, either of you." He then puts her dagger to the soldier's throat, warning that it will cut through his armor like paper. He gives a big speech about how this duel will only breed more hatred. He then turns to the invaders. "Has the Emperor commanded you to trample the code of conduct and bring civil war upon the Alliance?" He tells them they risk an honorless death if they continue. Then he schools his own people about not acting rashly. He gently takes Nausicaa's bleeding hand, glad she's come back to her senses. He grabs the enemy commander by the collar. "Will you let this duel continue? Answer me!" The commander immediately backs down. "A magnificent speech, Master Yupa. We'll be first to sheath our swords." And just like that, the duel is over. The wounded Tauromachian soldier collapses to his knees. Scene shifts to the Tauromachian camp. The commander, whose name is apparently Kushana, orders her troops to leave. The villagers are shocked. A woman, and still young. Yupa and Nausicaä have a happy reunion, while Kushana examines the sword. Kushana notices the sword is clean, despite the deep wound. She gives the blade a test swing with expert precision. Suddenly, Nausicaä is distracted by a cute squirrel fox Yupa saved. With a loud crack, the Ohmu shell sword shatters in Kushana's hand. Whoops! Kushana just smiles. Nausicaä, you say? Will we meet again? Our girl gives a badass reply. Someday, perhaps, on the field of battle. The Toramakians finally leave. A fine answer. Farewell, Kushana calls out. Their massive ship flies off over the sea. The villagers cheer like crazy. Hurrah! But then a horrifying thought hits Nausicaä. That soldier was already dead. Mito tells her to say something to the cheering crowd. They're all praising her as a warrior, but she's just staring off into space. She asks Yupa if she can keep the squirrel fox, and he's like, sure, whatever. Finally, Mito gets her to snap out of it. She takes charge again, ordering everyone to clean up the mess the invaders left. Nausicaä tells Yupa they got mobilization orders. And since her dad is sick, she declares, Father isn't going, I am. Yupa is floored. Nausicaä? To war? Inside their ship, Kushana is dismissive of the valley's well-wishes. Kushana smirks, already plotting to get the valley's gunship under her command. The villagers are burning away the toxic spores left behind. It's their destiny, living next to the sea of corruption. Inside the castle, an old woman is patching up Yupa's hand, telling him anyone else would have lost it. Mito drops a bombshell on Yupa. That soldier was already dead when I stopped her. In the king's room, Jill tells Yupa they should have just killed all the invaders. He thinks the commander was Kushana, the emperor's fourth daughter. The king thinks they should have just given them the stone. Yupa realizes Nausicaä has awoken to her own fearsome potential. She was terrified of the power she glimpsed within herself. That night in the woods. Meanwhile, Nausicaä is inspecting a giant tree that's infested with fungus. The men of the village are waiting below for her. She's high up in the tree, listening to it, deep in thought. She has a flashback to when she was younger. She moves along a branch, a knife in her hand. Her knife is stained with something dark, and she looks shocked. She stabs down into the tree with pained determination. She has another vision of a small creature being struck down. She slumps over a branch in despair. Later, she stands at the base of the tree, looking grim. At dawn, the villagers are burning the great tree down. So sad. Later in the woods, the men are asleep after their hard work. Tato, the little squirrel fox, wanders among them. He finds Nausicaä sitting alone by the water, looking super depressed. Tato licks her face to cheer her up, and it works. She holds him close, so relieved he came back to her. But she's still bummed. Why did I have to be born a princess? She wonders. On this day, the Toramakian Empire officially declared war. Scene change. A massive Toramakian military camp. Huge transport ships are parked in neat rows, ready for war. A massive banner shows that royalty is present. Inside a fancy tent, Princess Kushana is chilling, flanked by her guards. Some new dude in a cloak shows up. So, my paranoid father has inflicted another military attaché on me, has he? She asks. He introduces himself as Kuratoa, a staff officer. She calls him her new watchdog and asks for a report. Kuratoa gives a glowing report about how her brothers are crushing the Dorok armies. They've taken fortresses and over 10,000 slaves. He's super chipper about all the victories. Kushana cuts him off. Enough! She's bitter that she's stuck in this wasteland while her brothers get all the glory. She says her mission is just an excuse to get her out of the way until she finds that stone. Get out! He leaves, muttering that she's in a foul mood, and decides to go check out the ruins. Back in Kushana's tent, her loyal soldiers are complaining about their garbage mission. They think it's a plot by her brothers. They want to return to the capital and fight for her. But Kushana is firm. That would just play into her brothers' hands. She silences their complaints and gives new orders. Rendezvous with the periphery tribes tomorrow. In the name of the Emperor, tell them we go to war. Scene shifts to the ruins of Pejitei. Kurotoa is walking through the massive, shattered city. What a waste. He's stopped by some heavily armored worm handler guards. He just smirks, flashes his authority, and asks to see their chief. Their leader, Gowa, shows up. Kurotoa complains that they smell awful and demands to see it. The worm handlers are looting the city while Kurotoa heads for the main event. Gowa leads him to a massive industrial structure. They get in a bucket lift and descend into a massive dark shaft. The guide warns him not to get lost. And then he sees it. A colossal frickin' robot, partially excavated from the rock. A god warrior. Kurotoa is in total shock. It looks like it was made yesterday. Thick tubes on its body are pulsing. It's alive. He realizes the Pejitei engineers put it to sleep. Inside the fluid, bandaged hands reach out. Kurotoa then casually shoves his guide off the walkway into the chasm below. Whoops! Savage. He confirms the dude is dead and figures this is how Kushana's advisors keep having accidents. He looks at the giant weapon with a greedy smile. A god warrior, one of the monsters that burned the world. If I could control it, even the throne would be no daydream. He holds up his glowing staff, contemplating his future. This is either his big break or his downfall. Either way, the Empire is about to be awash in blood, all thanks to this monster. Meanwhile, Nausicaä realizes an Ohmu is attacking someone, somewhere in the forest. So, in this command tent, Princess Kushana is getting armored up and smirks about some dude crawling out of a pit. Classic villain monologue prep. Her goon Kurotoa is like, that man's a worm, totally dismissing him. What a tool. But Kushana's already playing 4D chess, thinking, I wonder. She knows her brothers are idiots and decides to leave the stone in the valley for a while. Big brain move. Cut to the Valley of the Wind, a massive fortress under the stars. Inside, everyone's prepping their gunships for a big fight. The hype is real. Master Yupa asks Mito, the chief mechanic, to load his bird-mount Kai onto the ship. Turns out it's a first sortie gift for our girl Nausicaä. What a sweet old dude. Mito's totally on board, yelling for space in the hold. Later, Mito tells Yupa they leave at dawn and that Nausicaä picked only old vets for her escort. Yupa explains it's because the young people are too precious to lose. Our girl is smart and caring. But Mito's worried. The rendezvous point is right next to the cursed rotwood. This smells like a trap. Yupa realizes the plan is to cross the sea of corruption itself. They both know this is more than a simple border skirmish, and our princess is playing it safe. In another room, someone's holding a bowl with a fresh haircut in it. It's Nausicaä. The village elders just gave her a serious battle bob. They help her into some custom scale mail, saying they put protection spells on every single scale. Then they hit her with the, "You mustn't take it off until you're home, not even to sleep." She's like, "Really?" Fully armored, she jokes, "Do I have to wear it when I'm bathing too?" And an old lady just says, "That's right. Grandma is not kidding." The elder calls the kids over for their turn. A little kid steps up and gives Nausicaä a pouch of nuts to stay strong. Our girl is so happy, holding the Chico nuts like they're a legendary item drop. She thanks all the kids, and they promise to pray to the wind god for her. This is too pure. At the airfield, one of the soldiers thinks about how happy they are to go with the princess. But Mito tells Yupa he's worried she hasn't been the same since her duel, forcing herself to smile. Yupa explains that our girl has a special power. She can hear the wind and loves even the toxic rutwood plants. He says her power isn't for war, but to heal some wound. Our hero has some serious hidden stats. One of the old castle vets shows his hand, which is turning to stone from the forest poisons. That's why they all serve in the castle now. Mito gets emotional, saying how much the princess means to them. Yupa agrees, saying no sacrifice would be too great. These guys are ride or die for Nausicaä. Yupa just tells him, "Protect the child," and Mito promises they will. Suddenly, Nausicaä's little fox squirrel, Teto, pads silently down a corridor. Yupa spots him and asks where his master is. Teto leads him down to the castle's foundations, a massive, creepy scrap pile nobody ever visits. They walk through a graveyard of old, derelict machines. Spooky. Yupa peeks through a door and hears a psychic scream. "He killed us!" Nausicaä hears it too, realizing it's in her head. The voice is full of sadness and anger, screaming, "We will kill him!" The scene reveals Nausicaä in a secret room filled with glowing plants, Teto at her feet. She calls out, "Who are you?" The voice fades, and Teto jumps on her shoulder for comfort. Nausicaä turns, sensing she's not alone anymore. And boom! Yupa walks in, totally shocked. "These are plants from the Sea of Corruption." Our girl calmly explains she grew them from spores. Secret biologists build, let's go. She tells him they don't give off poison here, but it's a secret because everyone would freak out. Yupa sees one of the most poisonous plants in the world flowering in a pot, his mind absolutely blown. Nausicaä explains that with clean water and air, even toxic fungus grows into a beautiful, harmless tree. She drops the bombshell. It's the earth itself that's polluted. Yupa is just stunned. She figured this all out by herself. But then Nausicaä gets sad, saying she's closing the room and letting them die before she leaves. She finally breaks down, hugging Yupa and crying, "I don't want to go to war." She confesses there's a terrible hatred inside her she can't control. She understands how the giant Ohmu insects feel, how hate makes them kill and then cry. Heavy stuff. Seeing the dawn, she knows it's time to go. Yupa has a massive realization. The key to the whole mystery of the forest was this girl right in front of him the whole time. He finally gets it. As she leaves, he shouts after her, "The time is drawing nigh when all the world will have need of your power." At dawn, Yupa watches as Nausicaä and her co-pilot wave from their gunship. The valley folk are scrambling, getting the ship and its massive cargo barge ready for takeoff. The whole village gathers to see them off, chanting a prayer to the wind to protect their children. The gunship takes flight, soaring over the crowd as they finish their farewell. Epic departure scene. High in the sky, Nausicaä flies her personal glider, the Mev, alongside the gunship and barge. The narrator explains that all the frontier tribes are flying to meet up with the Toramekian Empire's army. Suddenly, a lone fighter plane appears out of the clouds. The pilot, a young dude named Asbel, banks hard and recognizes the valley's convoy. He flies toward them, shouting at his own companion. The enemy plane he was fighting looks up just in time to see a flash and gets absolutely obliterated in a massive explosion. Nausicaä spots another ship against the sun. This new gunship fires a massive energy beam. She's amazed, wondering who it is since they shouldn't be flying alone. Her gunner, Mito, thinks he recognizes the silhouette. From the barge, one of the old vets, Gikuri, shouts over the radio to Mito. Mito waves back, yelling that everyone's great, while Nausicaä asks what's up. Turns out the old dudes on the barge are having a party, cheering that they feel like young lads again and are about to start singing. These guys are bonkers. In his cockpit, Mito grumbles that they're all drunk. Back on the barge, they're packed in with supplies, singing a loud marching song about being packed like sardines in a coffin. Mito grabs the mic, yelling, "Enough of that! This is the princess's first sortie," threatening to cut them loose. One of the old guys just yells back, "Cut it if you can," taunting him. But Nausicaä just smiles calmly and tells Mito it's okay. She knows it's their last chance to breathe clean air without a mask. As they approach the toxic sea of corruption, she knows once the masks go on, they might never come off again. So deep. The gunship plunges into the swirling miasma. Inside the spore-filled clouds, Nausicaä, now masked, hears a shout about a ship running alongside them. An enormous, ancient-looking brig emerges from the clouds. It's towing two smaller gunships, and a crewman identifies it as the Old Soldier from Pejitei, a ship that's literally 200 years old. Nausicaä has heard of it. It's a legendary ship. It's covered in patches, basically nothing left of its original hull. A soldier from the Pejitei ship waves and shouts a cheerful greeting. But as they get closer, he gets confused, thinking Nausicaä is the chief's son. As she pulls ahead, he realizes his mistake. Wait a minute, Jill doesn't have a son. The Pejitei crew is stunned. "By the gods, it's Jill's daughter," another yells. "A woman gunship pilot! There's never been anything like it!" Their commander snaps them out of it, ordering them to fly in formation with our girl. She's already a legend. Soon they see a whole fleet of ships ahead, a massive convoy from all the periphery tribes. Nausicaä is in awe of all the gunships. Seeing so many ships still able to fly gives her hope. The great fleet flies together, signaling friendly greetings and welcoming the Valley of the Wind into their formation. The whole squad is here. Scene shifts to the Toramekian air fleet. These guys are flying over the Sea of Corruption in sleek, uniform ships. On the bridge, they announce they've reached the rendezvous point. Kurotoa, the officer from earlier, is looking down at the forest below. The toxic miasma is falling like rain, and some dude panics that he forgot his mask. But an officer points to a caged bird, saying they don't need masks as long as the bird's alive. Primitive, but it works. Kurotoa laughs with relief, hating the masks, and immediately starts talking strategy. But Princess Kushana, looking totally badass in her helmet, shuts him down. "We're not landing," she says, ordering them to head straight south across the Sea of Corruption. Kurotoa is completely shocked, protesting that it's insane to fly over the Rutwood without organizing the troops first. Another officer explains the plan is to keep the other tribes tied to their slow barges so they can't rebel. A lookout spots the periphery convoy, And Kurotoa smirks at Kushana's ballsy plan. "Brains and beauty both. You're quite a woman," he says, ordering the flags raised. Flashback time. Yupa is remembering his last visit to the Valley of the Wind. He was visiting the sick King Gilles, Nausicaä's dad. He told the king he'd finally found what he was looking for. Gilles asks if it's the key to the forest's mystery, and Yupa confirms it. Yupa explained how the sea of corruption is spreading, swallowing entire countries, and how populations everywhere are shrinking. The world is basically dying. In the present, Nausicaä is taming a wild squirrel fox. Yupa remembers telling Gilles about seeing crazed herds of Ohmu attacking human villages. The life forms of the forest seem bent on destroying the old world. The priests say it's God's punishment for humanity polluting the world, but Yupa doesn't buy it. He once traveled to the very heart of the forest. He expected a barren desert, but found a climax forest, the final stage of the rotwood's growth. He shows Yupa a vial of sand from there. The grains are a complex alloy, totally pure and poison-free. Deep beneath the forest floor, he found a world of peace and purity. It was so pure, he felt like a monster in his protective gear. Gilles wonders if the sea of corruption was born to cleanse the polluted world. Yupa admits it's just a theory, but Nausicaä has felt it too. Our girl has high INT stats. He was determined to find out what was happening in the heart of the forest. Gilles told his friend to do what he thinks is right, doubting they'd ever meet again. His last wish was for Nausicaä to help Yupa in his quest. Watching her now, Yupa thinks, "Nausicaä, how you have grown." End of the fields trip. 1,000 years have passed, and a huge fleet is flying over the toxic forest. Inside the valley's gunship, Nausicaä is at the controls. Her little buddy Teto watches from a compartment as she charts their course. She's thinking she's never gone so deep into the forest before. Suddenly, she gets a chill, her heart pounding. The air is filled with hate, she thinks, but it's not the Ohmu. Uh-oh, bad vibes. The gunner asks if the guys on the barge can take their masks off since the other crews are. But Nausicaä tells him to wait, saying, "Something worries me." She's annoyed by the slow Toramekian bumblecrow ships flying above them. She notes they've manned their gun turrets to intimidate everyone. This whole mission's a flight of fools. Then she gasps, seeing a flash of light. A lookout screams, "There's something in the sun!" An enemy gunship dives out of the sun, cannons blazing, and rips into the side of the Toramekian transport. It's an ambush! The pilot is wearing the crest of the city-state of Pejitei. The massive explosion rocks Nausicaä's gunship, throwing them around. The men on the barge yell, "That's Pejitei's gunship!" Nausicaä realizes the pilot must be the brother of a girl named Rastel. The plot thickens. The Toramekian bumblecrow disintegrates in a massive fireball, sending debris everywhere. Nausicaä shouts, "We're going to collide!" Mito yells at her to evade, but she can't, or the tow cable will snap. They fly right into the wreckage storm. Debris hammers the ship. A piece of shrapnel kills one of the bird mounts on the barge. A huge chunk of metal smashes through the gunner's canopy, hitting Mito and knocking him out cold. Mito is down! Nausicaä, her helmet shattered, shouts into the comms, asking if the barge is okay. A crewman on the barge just screams a warning. A massive, flaming piece of wreckage is plummeting right at them. Nausicaä grits her teeth, ready to pull off some pro-gamer moves. As she accelerates, Yupa's voice from the past echoes, praising her as a fine pilot. Severing the tow cable, the gunship pulls away as the barge begins to fall toward the sea of corruption. Oh no! Other ships see the barge falling, knowing it won't make it. The barge is skimming the toxic treetops, the crew inside dumping cargo to gain altitude. They're terrified, realizing they're done for. One man screams they should just blow themselves up rather than land in the rotwood. But then Nausicaä flies up alongside them, shouting, "Idiots! Pull yourselves together! Make an emergency landing!" She feels the toxic miasma burning her lungs, but keeps going. As the barge crash lands, she runs along the top of her own gunship and leaps onto it. She stands there unmasked and yells, "Calm down and listen to me. I'll save your lives if it's the last thing I do." The crew is horrified, screaming that she'll die. She hovers beside them on her glider, yelling for a mask. They snap out of it, saying, "We'll do anything you say." She gets a mask and gives them a confident thumbs up. What a legend. Following her orders, they restart the engine and dump cargo. The enemy pilot, Asbel, watches this unfold, stunned. There's truly something special about her, he thinks, but he's got his own problems, needing a place to land. Nausicaä coughs, having inhaled some spores. "My chest is burning. Our girl is injured." Back to the main battle. Nausicaä senses a malevolent presence as the Tauromacheian guns blast away. A psychic voice whispers, "Kill them." As the enemy gunship zips around, the Tauromacheian commander orders his ships to concentrate their fire. The Pejitei ship appears against the sun. Kurotoa smirks at Kushana, blaming her for letting the pilot escape when they took Pejitei. She just glares back, telling him to use his wit to get them out of this mess. Mito, on another ship, yells for the princess, worried she's hurt. A massive explosion hits Transport 2. The ship's rudder is jammed, and they send a final farewell message as Kushana sheds a single tear. Her grief hardens into pure, cold resolve. She's pissed. Nausicaä tells Mito to put on his mask because they're diving into the sea of corruption. Kurotoa, meanwhile, yells at his pilots for being useless. He shoves a pilot aside, grabbing the controls himself. "I'll teach you how to fly a corvette." He smirks at Kushana. "This might get a little rough, Your Highness." She just tells him to go ahead. The corvette roars to life. "Ready the foreguns! Full throttle!" The Pejitei gunship dives through the smoke. Kurotoa's violent maneuvers throw his crew around. He yells at them to stop squalling. He flies right into the thick black smoke, using it as cover. This dude is a dangerous pilot. He waits for the perfect moment. "Here, now!" he shouts, bursting out of the smoke. He's right alongside the enemy ship. "Got him!" The Pejitei gunship is hit hard. As the guns fire, Mito spots insects attacking a freighter in the forest below. Nausicaä sees it's a ship from a neighboring kingdom. Kurotoa's guns score another hit, blowing off the enemy's tail. Soldiers cheer, but Nausicaä is focused on the other crisis. The fools must have attacked the insects. They have no chance now. Kurotoa yells that the enemy is only scratched, and he's right. The damaged gunship expertly recovers. Damn good pilot, Kurotoa thinks, impressed. The Pejitei ship swoops in behind them, and a lookout screams, "He's on our tail!" The enemy's cannons blast one of the corvette's rear gun turrets into a fiery explosion. The gunner looks up in total shock and terror as his position is destroyed. Things just got real. So, we open on this insane dogfight. This dude Kurotoa just blasts a bumblecrow out of the sky. Its soldiers just start dropping like flies, which is a total bummer. The enemy pilot, Asbel, is watching his whole squad get wiped out. Back in the cockpit, Kurotoa is like, "Man, what a bad way to go." Thanks, Captain Obvious. Asbel is totally losing it, and miles away, our girl Nausicaä feels his pain. She sees a vision of kids falling from the sky, which is messed up. The Toromikian pilots are like, who brings cadets on a mission? Good question. Then, another massive explosion lights up the whole sky. Asbel is just sobbing over his controls, completely wrecked. Meanwhile, Nausicaä's own gunship goes into a nosedive because she's so distracted. She unleashes this bonkers psychic scream that literally knocks the enemy bridge crew off their feet. Her message is simple: you mustn't kill them. A desperate telepathic cry for help comes from the doomed ship. Asbel hears her psychic shout to stop the killing while he's still fighting. The psychic voice hits Kurotowa, who's like, who the heck is that? Suddenly, he gets a vision of Nausicaä crying right next to him in his cockpit. The vision shifts, and now Asbel sees it too, just a little girl crying. He mentally asks her who she is and why she's crying. She tells him her name is Nausicaä before her psychic ghost just fades out. Asbel is just completely stunned and slumps over, the vision totally frying his brain. Distracted by all this psychic drama, he literally drifts right into Kurotowa's ship. The main enemy ship finally breaks apart and plummets to the ground. Flying away from the wreckage, Asbel is just relieved he survived the encounter. Scene change to a wrecked Toromikian ship. Inside, some poor guy reports, "He beat the hell out of us. It's a sea of blood." The commander, Kushana, is just silently holding a dying soldier's hand, ice cold. She looks over her fallen men with this grim, determined sorrow. A subordinate asks if they should retreat, but she's not having it. "No, we head south, just as planned," she orders. Kushana tells them to bury the dead later, while Nausicaä is still reeling from the psychic feedback. A soldier notices something weird, but Nausicaä is busy trying to talk to the psychic presence. The enemy flotilla flies on as the voice fades, leaving only a whisper of kill. Cut to Nausicaä's crew, flying low inside the toxic jungle. They're cruising over the water in this super dangerous, poisonous forest. The psychic voice is gone, leaving our girl to pilot in the creepy silence. Suddenly, someone shoots a siren shell at them from the trees. Another one goes off, and it's clearly time to bounce. Nausicaä decides to land on the water to avoid getting shot down. The three ships from the Valley of the Wind prepare for a water landing. The main gunship hits the water with a massive splash, echoing through the forest. The crew climbs out, shaken but alive, trying to keep their balance. One of the elders is shivering, saying the whole thing gave him the chills. Nausicaä apologizes for hesitating, but Mito tells her not to worry. Her crew tells her to rest while they handle the repairs. One of the councilmen looks into the water and is shocked by how clear it is. Nausicaä is just thinking about the boy pilot who attacked them. Then she gets an idea, thinking he's sure to recognize a certain signal. And right on cue, a massive wall of glowing blue eyes appears. It's an Ohmu herd. The gunship lurches as the crewman gets thrown from his seat. They realize they've landed right on top of giant glowing insects. Whoops. A colossal Ohmu surfaces, and Nausicaä gets excited. "He heard! He's coming!" Her crew is panicking. "We've landed in an Ohmu nest!" they yell. "Quiet! Don't shoot!" Nausicaä commands, because she's the only one not freaking out. She tells them she's going to try and talk to the giant bug raid bosses. She stands alone on the hull, facing down a whole swarm of these absolute units. Golden tentacles reach out from the Ohmu and wrap around her. The crew can only watch in horror as she gets pulled in. Inside the psychic link, she just begs them to understand. The Ohmu just communicates in silence, a total enigma. And just like that, it's over. The entire herd turns and swims past them. Her men rush over as she collapses. The Ohmu, they're leaving! They can't believe she calmed them without any special gear. Total pro move. But then Mito realizes something's wrong. Princess, you're white as a ghost. Nausicaä is shivering uncontrollably, whispering that she's cold. The councilmen are pissed, blaming the Ohmu for what they did to her. She weakly pushes Mito away, trying to stand on her own. Staring off, she says, "It's about to begin, just like the Ohmu said." Classic prophecy drop. Back on the ship, Nausicaä urgently asks if they still have her glider, the Mev. Mito says they do, but begs her not to use it here. Before she can answer, a massive wingworm attacks. She yells, "Unload Mev! I have to go!" As she runs, the whole forest starts to wake up. It's an aggro chain. The sky fills with a churning swarm of angry bugs. Mito tries to stop her, pointing out that a truly colossal Ohmu is rising from the water. The men stare up in pure terror as the giant insect towers over them. For a second, its huge eyes look calm and peaceful. Then they go stone still, which is never a good sign. A councilman yells, "Their eyes are aflame, the attack color!" They wonder what pissed it off, but Nausicaä just says, "There's no time to lose." A stampede of enraged Ohmu, eyes glowing red, crashes through the water. Mito pleads with her not to go, but she's already giving orders. "Wait only 1 hour," she commands. "If I haven't returned, head for the encampment." She launches her glider, leaving her crew behind as Mito shouts after her. After landing near a crashed ship, her little fox squirrel companion, Tato, leaps down to her. She spots him while flying and yells his name in surprise. Elsewhere, the swordsman Yupa gets thrown from his aircraft. Nausicaä shoves the little fox squirrel into her glider's cockpit for safety. She gets hit by some random debris, but keeps flying like a champ. She expertly pilots down a narrow chasm, calling out for Master Yupa. Back on the ship, her crew argues about leaving her behind. Suddenly, a gun barrel pops out of the water, and Yupa starts laughing. He and Nausicaä fly together, having a happy reunion. They look down and spot a massive insect nest full of eggs. Deep inside, the pilot Asbel is crawling through the bug eggs. He runs along a ridge high above a swarm of smaller creatures. Taking cover, he opens fire on the advancing bugs. An explosion goes off, but he just stands there, ready for more. A huge crab-like insect appears, looking nasty. Asbel stabs another creature right in the head. Savage. An even bigger crab bug lumbers forward, ready to flex its claws. A swarm of flying insects descends on him. He pulls out his last grenade. It detonates in a flash, stunning the entire swarm. The stunned bugs just start falling from the sky. Asbel checks out the damage and sees he blew a hole in a giant petrified tree. He peeks inside and realizes the whole thing is hollow. He comes face to face with a massive insect and immediately aims his rifle. The bug attacks, and the inside of the tree just erupts in chaos. Asbel gets splashed with some gross fluid and almost falls. He looks up and realizes the fluid is hardening around him, basically a stun lock. Encased in the stuff, he loses his grip as the whole tree starts to crumble. The petrified wood shatters into sand, and he gets swallowed by it. You hate to see it. Asbel plummets down a literal waterfall of sand into a dark abyss. As he falls, he sees a swarm of winged insects rising up to meet him. He's falling right towards the face of a giant bug. This is definitely a game over screen. But then, out of nowhere, a sleek white glider swoops in for the clutch rescue. So, our boy Asbel is in the middle of a battle and getting absolutely wrecked by giant bugs when Nausicaä swoops in for a clutch rescue. He just yoinks a ride on her glider as a huge tentacle whips past them. They start blazing through this toxic forest at ludicrous speed, skimming the surface of a misty sea. Of course, they've pulled aggro from two massive insectoid mobs, and Asbel is freaking out. He yells at her to grab a worm-flute from his pouch, because that's a normal thing to have. But instead, our girl pulls out this weird, intricately carved stone and is instantly mesmerized by it. The bugs are still chasing them, and he's just screaming. Classic escort quest. Nausicaä has a quick 200 IQ flash about a legendary bug called an Ohmu. Then another tentacle whips out and obliterates the flute in her hand. Asbel is pissed. He pulls out a gun like a total noob. But Nausicaä is having none of it, shouting, "Stop! Don't use your gun!" She literally smacks him on the helmet. She's completely distracted by a giant, shiny Ohmu shell she spotted, thinking it's beautiful. "Bro, read the room." She yells, "Hold on," and pulls a pro-gamer move. The glider's jet fires, kicking up a massive cloud of spores that acts as a smokescreen. She expertly dives into the mist, throwing the bugs off their trail. The maneuver is so wild, it launches both of them off the glider. Whoops! The empty glider flies off, and she's just thinking about all the epic gear she could craft from that shell. The bugs are totally confused, but Nausicaä is still theory-crafting armor sets. Asbel, meanwhile, is absolutely furious, grabbing her and yelling, "Why don't you fight?" while she's mentally designing a new gunship canopy. Priorities. She finally gets serious, tells him, "You've already done too much killing," and points, "Look overhead." And what's overhead? A literal zerg rush of thousands of smaller insects pouring out of the forest. These things look nasty, all enraged with giant pincers. Nausicaä spots a tiny opening between the trees and just sends it, flying them straight into a dark canyon. A jump-scare bug with massive jaws lunges at them from the shadows, but she's still thinking about how pretty the shell was. The whole swarm follows them into the tight passage. Asbel throws a grenade, apparently his only move, which causes a huge explosion. He's blown away by her piloting, exclaiming, "You fly like the wind itself!" Okay, simp. They finally lose their pursuers deep inside a vast cavern under the forest. They're in a deadly underground zone where the air will literally melt your lungs in minutes. And then, bam, a massive multi-eyed Ohmu is just chilling there. Suddenly, the glider goes nuts as a psychic scream echoes around them. "He killed us!" Our girl gets thrown off and starts plummeting into a chasm. A voice inside her head is just pure rage and sadness. The psychic vibes are so strong, Asbel can feel them from the quicksand he's now sinking into. Nausicaä calls out, "Who are you?" But the voice is just a loop of pure hatred. Asbel, being swarmed by bugs, tells her to get away while she can. Another huge bug lunges at her as she falls. Her mask gets torn from her face as she tumbles into the darkness. This is a wipe. But then she's suddenly caught by a bunch of thick golden tentacles. Asbel, watching from below, looks totally grimdark. He stands on a bug's head and yells the most badass cringe line ever. "Monster, I'll punch you full of holes!" An explosion goes off in the background. A powerful psychic voice issues a command. "Cease! Kill not!" Asbel ignores it, of course, and keeps trying to fight. He gets swarmed by even more bugs. The Ohmu's tentacles have caught Nausicaä, and Asbel immediately assumes it's a boss grab attack. He thinks she's being eaten. He charges forward, screaming, "Are you going to eat her?" He starts hacking furiously at the golden tentacles to free her. The Ohmu just casually yeets him through the air. Turns out it was just trying to interact with a glowing object. Nausicaä is hanging limp, totally unconscious. Then the Ohmu gently lowers her to the ground and even places her mask right next to her face. What a gentleman! Asbel lands hard, completely defeated. He sees her lying there without her mask and scrambles over in a panic, trying to put it back on her. Suddenly, the Ohmu hits them with a psychic discord call. Listen. Asbel is holding Nausicaä, completely shook. "Hear us, aggressor," the voice says. Asbel can't believe it. The Ohmu is like, "The little one will not die," but then adds, "You killed many." Then it drops the reason. "But the little one pleads to us, kill him not." So yeah, she saved his butt. Depart, aggressor. The Ohmu explains they've been waiting for her and that their entire race is a hive mind. Peak sci-fi BS, let's go. It says this forest's quest is done and they have to go help another one. Farewell, little one. And then the colossal creature just leaves. Nausicaä murmurs in her sleep, "What a magnificent Ohmu!" Girl has a one-track mind. Asbel then has a shocking realization. He's breathing just fine without his mask. He's ecstatic, shouting, "It's a miracle! We're alive!" He's completely in awe of this beautiful, pure world hidden beneath the toxic forest. He's laughing and shaking Nausicaä, who is still lost in her dream, trying to calm the Ohmu down. Asbel is just floored, thinking, what a wondrous girl. He also thinks she looks like someone named Rastel. Scene shifts to a flashback vision. Nausicaä sees a memory of a little girl, probably herself, in a sunny field. Her dad is there, all silent and mysterious. The kid looks scared, like she knows this is a bad place. She runs from giant figures, panicking. She backs away in terror from a bunch of grasping hands. Then we see it, a baby Ohmu larva. So cute! But the adults are totally freaking out, saying she's been possessed by the insects. The little girl shields the larva, shouting, "It's not doing anything wrong." One of the men is not having it. Insects and humans cannot live in the same world, as he tries to take it from her. The larva spits something in her face. A man raises a weapon to kill it, and she screams, "Don't kill it!" Back in the present, Nausicaä is chilling in the glowing cavern, then notices she's wearing Asbel's jacket. She looks around and realizes they're in an absolutely breathtaking underground world. Suddenly, a glider appears. It's Asbel. He found her ride. He has no idea where they are, and she's just like, "It's a long story." They finally introduce themselves properly. He's Asbel from Pejitei. She's Nausicaä from the Valley of the Wind. And she immediately drops a bomb. "You're Rastel's older brother, aren't you?" He's shocked she knows his sister's name. After she explains what happened, he's totally crushed. She gives him the stone his sister wanted him to have. He decides not to tell her what the secret quest item does. Then she checks her glider, and of course, the engine is busted. Asbel, being from a factory town, confidently offers to fix it. "Here, let me." He's super impressed with the engine's build quality. He tells her it'll take a while to repair, since he doesn't have his tools. Later, while Asbel is grinding on the engine repairs, Nausicaä runs off for a minute. Her little fox-squirrel companion, Tito, is calling her. She just parkours up a giant petrified tree to get to him. Turns out Tito found her pouch. The Chico nuts are still there. Quest items secured. She gives Tito one as a reward for being a good boy. Then she watches as glowing particles begin to fall like starlight. She realizes the falling particles are pure, clean sand. Mind blown. Later, Asbel is trying the nuts and says they taste funny. She tells him they're nutritious, and he replies, "I could eat a bootful of them." That night, they continue working on the engine, and Asbel estimates they can take off by noon tomorrow. He asks her about her theory on the forest. She gets super serious, saying she can still hear the Ohmu's voice. And then she drops the mega lore bomb. The toxic forest is actually a giant purification device created to cleanse the world's pollution. This whole beautiful cavern is the result of that process. But if the forest is the cure, what's the disease? She confronts the terrifying truth. If we humans are the real pollution? Oof. Cut to a weird dream or vision. Yupa is back in the valley holding a ceremony. Back in the cave, Nausicaä is test-piloting the repaired glider with Asbel running alongside. She's a natural, of course. Then Asbel says his goodbyes, offering her their only mask like a true hero. He says he can't go to a Torometian camp, and the glider is too weak for two. She realizes this was his plan all along. But our girl is not leaving him behind, declaring, "I'll take Rastel's brother with me." She tells him to ditch any extra weight he's carrying. Then she comes up with a galaxy brain plan to ride the forest's natural updrafts straight out. She literally breaks the mask in half so they can both use it. He's worried, but she just says, "Try to bear it." She tucks Tato safely into her shirt. The final plan is insane. She sits on his shoulders as they balance on the glider, ready for takeoff. And they launch in a cloud of dust. We see them ascending through the toxic miasma, sharing the two halves of the broken mask. They soar up through the massive cavern and toward the world above. Chapter clear.